All right, welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Bentude and we are in my laptop right now. So this video is going to be about how to create an agency framework, a digital brain, a work breakdown structure, learning about BPM, which is business process management. And once your agency has gone beyond $10,000 a month, this is where you got to start going. You really need to get clear on your processes and how you go about delivering your service and make it so defined that you could take someone off the streets and you could hand them this like workbook or this manual or this digital brain, and they would be able to get results for your clients. So that's what a digital brain is all about. It's about taking a stranger from no knowledge to being an expert, more or less, or at least being able to deliver a great result for your client. So standardizing the results for your clients and basically productizing your service is what this video is all about. If you want to get to 50 or 100 or 200,000 or $500,000 or $1 million per month, I mean, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at BPM, which is business process management. So this is what I first did 2.5 years ago, I believe it was, this digital brain. And it's basically just a super simple high-level view of our agency framework. Now, what you're going to see at the top is the top-level view. You have account, audit, ASS1, ASS2, bid management, compare performance and forecast, adjust launch dates if needed. You could even get rid of these two and just have these four, and that's more or less what it would be. And so then you go down a level and you have what I call the high level breakdown. Now, this is basically just one layer deeper. So, okay, how do you perform the account audit? Okay, well, it's really simple. You just pull reports for the automation, you run the automation, you input the data, and the client writes the product benefits PSR. So then you might be thinking, well, how do you do this? Well, if I click on this square, it's going to take me to like an actual SOP. Okay, so a lot of people, what they do is they just build SOPs, and SOPs, they're good, you need them, but they don't have something like this, which really shows you the entire agency in one simple page. And when you just have SOPs, which is like in written text in Google Docs or whatever it is, it's difficult for someone to holistically understand the stages that a client goes through or the stages that an employee needs to go through to get the results for the client, which is why we have a digital brain. This is also known as a work breakdown structure, which can be seen, let's see if I have it here. I don't have it here, but I'll get to it in a second. And this is what it is. So there's 3 dimensions. There's the top level, there's the high level, and then there's the in-depth level, which is when you actually click on this, it drills down to the specific SOP, which is in a more or less like a doc, but it's also kind of laid out like this. So this is what's important, because everybody knows how to make an SOP and it's pretty straightforward, but you need something like this so everyone can holistically understand your business and your agency. So then what you have, there's a couple of other things that are pretty simple. We have this drive folder structure. Any client that we sign, we put them into a Google Drive folder, and the structure that we use is consistent every single time. It never changes, and we do that so that everything is very organized for our account executives. They know where to go. They know where to find this. They know where to find that. When you don't have structure with how you go and archive your data for your clients, whatever it is you're doing, how you go about archiving the data that you collect and that you transform through the process of delivering your service, it is going to get super messy. You need to have a consistent structure. It's very important. When we implemented this, I mean, it made a huge difference. Before, it was just chaos. There was files everywhere. Oh my God, it was terrible. And then, this is something similar. This goes into like processes and whatnot. The advertising landscape, the Amazon advertising landscape, like that world is right here. It's in one page. It's difficult to understand the possibilities of Amazon advertising because in the last 12 months, this is again just for our agency, there's so many updates. Now, if you do Facebook ads or Google ads, I mean, you're probably dealing with the same thing. If you're running a content creation agency, you may not deal with something like this, but this is similar to like a mind map that shows us all of the intricate details of Amazon advertising and the entire breakdown. This is more or less like the UI of Amazon advertising. When you go in to create a campaign, you go through all these different processes and you can go through all these different pathways, and there's multiple different types of accounts. This is important because, again, it allows you to look down on everything that you do, because this is all that we do right here. This is all the different forms of advertising that we deal with. And it allows me to simply zoom in and zoom out very quickly. Again, I call this is like a digital brain, because I can't store all this information in my brain. The human mind is very forgetful, and it's impossible for someone to remember all of this unless they have photographic memory. So by having this, you're creating a digital brain that allows you to just plug in and plug out whenever you need to. It's like, okay, hey, how does this work? How is this type of campaign created? Oh yeah, let me zoom in here. This is how it's created. Okay, perfect. This is what we need to do here. That's where we can pull this information or that information, or this is the plan we're going to use for this client account. So mapping out not just, your processes, but also the overall landscape of the industry that you're in. If it's something like, advertising where it's changing constantly, then that can also be very important. Now, what I'm working on recently is more or less revolutionizing the digital brain and making it a lot more consolidated and just more informative, because this is a pretty basic framework, right? An agency framework or digital brain. So what we wanted to do is something like a BPMN, which is more or less a business process management language. If you're not familiar with BPMN, you could search it up, and basically it is business process model and notation, but it's also known as business process management. But BPMN specifically, it's a language that you use to create processes. You can see how this looks very similar to what I've begun creating here. And I like this because it gives us a lot more in-depth view into how to do an account audit while still keeping it visual, unlike a traditional SOP. So this is kind of the process that we go through when we do an account audit. And note that at the very top, it shows who the creator is, when this process was last updated. That's so important, because you're going to have to constantly update your processes. And so by following like a standardized template for creating processes and having basically like who's the creator and when it was updated, it sounds so basic and so fundamental, but it makes such a difference, because you can see, oh my God, this hasn't been updated in 2 years. And we could make this so much better. Or, hey, this was just updated last week. This is good. Not much has changed in this type of process. So what we have here, let me just try to explain it. We have, I believe, now bear with me, I'm not like an expert at BPMN. I just recently have gotten into this in the last 6 months. If you want to learn more about it, I recommend you just buy some books on it or Google some stuff about it. But what we have here is swim. We have swim lanes, I believe is what it's called. These lanes here. And this whole thing is called a pool. And then what we have is more or less a black box, the prospect. So this is how our audit goes. First, we have a prospect who sends us a survey. Now they go to our website and they fill out a survey on just 2 different locations they can go to, but they'll qualify to work with us. They'll fill out this survey. Once they've filled out this survey, what you'll see is the survey is received by an account executive. So first they filled out the survey, then the survey was received by the account executive. You can see this because this is in the account executive lane here. And then the account executive will qualify the survey. Now this is known as a task. This box is called a task. This here is an event, and it basically means that an event happens, something is received. It doesn't mean that like there's any work that's done. A task is when work needs to get done. So qualifying the survey means that our account executive is going to go through and look at the survey. They're going to make sure that this is somebody who is qualified. This is a decision. So this gateway, this thing here, it's just called a gateway, and it means that there's a decision that needs to be made. And so if they're not qualified, the account executive will cancel the call and notify the prospect. If they are qualified, that means the prospect, the account executive is going to take the call with the prospect, and there's a 1 to 4 day delay, because the prospect can book a call anywhere in the next 1 to 4 days when they fill out a survey on our website. Then they're going to do a discovery call with our account executive, the prospect and the account executive. So you can see here, this arrow goes up to the prospect because it means that the account executive is going to call the prospect, and the prospect is going to, of course, answer the call. And so what we have here is a subtask or a sub-process, and this is essentially a task within a task. So doing a discovery call, it requires a lot more than just saying do a discovery call. So how do we explain doing a discovery call? Well, we have something called a sub-task. Now, in a classic BPMN software, when you click on this, it's going to open up and there's going to be a drop down. Lucidchart is not the best software to use for creating BPMN charts, but it's very cheap and it's very good, and it's good enough. You can see they have their own BPMN 2.0 language with different shapes here. So now moving forward, this discovery call, if I uncover this, this is the actual process that we go through. So I'll just drag this down here. Okay, so the way that we do a discovery call is, ignore the red here. First, they call the prospect, then they qualify the prospect by discovering their current desired situation. So what are your last month's total sales, last month's ad spend, ad rev, ACoS, desired ACoS for sales? Then the AE will get answers to key questions like, hey, are you running ads in Seller Central or AMS? What's your target ACoS? Then they're going to receive account access, which is a really important thing. They need to get account access. And then there is basically a decision, which is, hey, has the account access been given? If it hasn't been given yet, follow up with the prospect. Have we received the account access? Yes. If we have, great. We need to make sure we have access to this advertising reports manager and the business reports. Once the account access is received, you're going to see that the prospect has sent us account access, and that's pretty simple. And then this is when the event ends. So then we're going to hide that. And then the next step is, if we've received access, then what we're going to do is we're going to send an audit. Okay, and sending an audit request basically is this simple. It just means that the automation specialist needs the following information. So the account executive needs to send the automation specialist these three things, and then the audit request will be sent, which is good. Then it goes down here, and this is now the work that the automation specialist needs to do, and we go through that process. So this is BPMN. Now, I'm not going to talk more about this because you're probably not running an Amazon advertising agency. But with that being said, I really like this. This is the model that we're moving towards, and I'm starting to rebuild my entire agency framework in this model simply because it tells a better story. If you compare this to the original digital brain that we have here, this is good. This is what I would call a good starting framework for anyone that hasn't built an agency framework. But once you have this, if you want to take it to the next level, simply because you've been scaling your agency a lot and you need better systems and processes to help keep everybody in your team aware of what's going on, and when this was last updated, when this was not last updated, etc., and who created what, then you need something like this. So we're moving to this, and it's purely because of scale. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody who hasn't built out a basic framework like this. I still recommend this as a starting point, but if you want to take it to the next level, this is kind of where we're going, which is known as BPMN, and it's a language. It's actually the only business process management or business process, what did they call it? I forget exactly what they called it, but business process model and notation. It's the only one that's really very commonly used amongst businesses. You can see it was created by this object management group in 2005. So it's really, really cool. And if you want to sell your company, it's kind of a bonus because you actually use the language that is commonly known, and you can actually hire people that are skilled in these languages, and there's softwares that connect to this language. So it's a long-term play. I know that if we start using this language today, 5-10 years from now, because this is the standardized model, we'll be able to benefit from it and potentially use some advanced softwares if we ever need to, if we have 100+ employees or whatever. So that is it, a quick short video on how to build a digital brain, and how to upgrade that digital brain, and also just mind mapping out your industry. This is a quick brain dump of a video. By no means did I teach you anything in depth, but I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you found some value in this thing. And if you haven't built out a digital brain or an agency framework, I hope you begin as soon as possible if your agency is in the stage where you need it. Okay, not everybody is there. You really don't need to do this kind of stuff when you're doing like $2,000 or $3,000 a month and you only have 1 or 2 clients, or even like $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 a month. You know, sooner the better. But really, this becomes a priority once you've hired your first employee, and it becomes an extreme priority once you have 5 to 10 team members. It's like, oh my God, like this is super necessary, because when you have great processes, there's so many benefits to it. The number one benefit is that you're able to produce repeatable results for your clients. That's obviously the number one benefit. Number 2 benefit is you can train people a lot faster. And the number 3 benefit is that you can out-innovate your competitors because you are more freaking organized. Believe it or not, organization is so important as you scale your agency, because agencies are very people-intensive businesses. That's going to be your number one cost in an agency, for most agencies, is people. So thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to keep consistency and post a video once a week, but my throat has been hurting me, so I stopped last week. Anyways, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found some value. Get back to work, scale your agency, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.